number that will be given to you on the screen. I am Mwambu William, who will be coordinating things here. We'll be taking the first topic, which is the Anglophone crisis. We shall be looking at the pivotal issues and the consistent inconsistencies in the Anglophone crisis. When we talk of that, you know, Tubon Naj came out talking about when he was giving a resume of the Anglophone crisis to the Congress of the United States of America. And he was saying that the Anglophones want to be part of the decision-making in this country, and there is a very pivotal issue that is making this crisis not to come to an end. And so the UN too is being pressed by some international organizations to freeze the accounts of the separatists, given that there's so much money that they have, they use it for atrocities instead of fighting for or fighting the right way to gain their freedom. And so at this time, I want to begin with you, Mr. Item Armstrong. If we look at the Anglophone crisis, it has taken close to 4 years. According to you, if you look at the crisis, what should be the real reason for this crisis, or the pivotal issue that has to be solved that has not been solved? Because according to Tubon Naj, who came out, there are some reasons or there are some issues that need to be put in place, maybe some constitutions to be changed so that the Anglophone to feel involved in the decision-making of this country.
Mr. Moderator, if you ask me, the main issue in the Anglophone crisis since 2016, when the crisis began, it's all about some remote causes. I will tell you on this platform that the Anglophone crisis has remote causes that has influenced that people's mind, that has caused people's mind to be uncomfortable for the last 50 years since the country got its independence. To be honest, you realize that from 1961, when the two Cameroonians came together, if you look at history keenly, it has been all been the Anglophone being the losers, even though there might be things that they got through their coming together. But if from a critical perspective, you realize that the Anglophones have been the losers. For example, if you look at the Fumban Conference, the Anglophones were not allowed free minds to sit together and determine their affair without the intrusion of the president, Amado Ahijo, and the others. I think there were many Francophones, not only Ahijo, who mobilized and supported Foncha, who stood for unity. And with this, there was no free minds. It was more of influence. From then, you realize that the Fumban Conference did not end up with an authentic document, because the constitution, the draft constitution in the Yaoundé Tripartite Conference it is alleged, was never signed. And to be honest, these are issues that catches the attention of people. From then, you realize that even the federal constitution never lasted. The federal constitution that was really the bedrock of the Anglophones never lasted. And when you come to 1972, when I think it's a few years later, when the constitution was changed, and I mean when the country's name was changed to United Cameroon. To me, the question that comes to my mind was, if we are moving towards integration, towards oneness, why don't we preserve some legacies? Why don't we even make things better? Because things are going from worse, that is from better to worse, and worse even. Yeah. So that is what is the problem of Anglophone. You realize that in 1984, when the president of the Republic, Amado Ahijo, came to power in 1982, I think it's 6 November 1982. In 1984, he has to change the name of the country from United Republic of Cameroon in 1972, that was put in place in 1972, in 1984 to the Republic of Cameroon, to maintain the initial name of the French Cameroon. And from that, you move closely and you realize that even the position of the prime minister that had a lot of influence was sometime even removed completely and was later brought back. Mr. Moderator, it has really been an issue of inequality and marginalization that has caused Anglophones. Because if it was only the issue of lawyers and the issue of teachers, you will realize that I think the president and the stakeholders concerned gave attention after some time, even though when it started, they started using the military option that has been the best option they use in every case. But they realized that it failed at one point and the country resorted to peaceful measures like what we saw in the national dialogue and many other options that they choose, consultative talks with the stakeholders concerned. So not to take the floor, the Anglophone crisis is caused by a lot of remote causes. I cannot completely outline them all, but in the course of the program, we'll look keenly to some of these causes. So the Anglophone crisis that we see today has been an issue which the people have been very disgruntled. For example, you will see a young man who will pass a concours, and after some time you will see him coming back home very sad because it's all about he's coming from somewhere. Marginalization. Putting that beside, you look at prominent positions like the Ministry of Finance, like the Ministry of Defense, like the Ministry of Justice, like the Presidency of the Republic. Since independence, no Anglophones have mounted this position. Those are key positions that dictate on the nation. No Anglophone has mounted. I'm not an advocate for doom, but I'm just trying to educate the public on some issues. And when you look, an average Anglophone youth find it's very difficult to have a job. Why? They have few authorities in government, and the few authorities and those ones in government feel that they can only help their families. So at that point now, you realize that it is the Anglophone man is very disgruntled at one point. So the crisis has so far taken another phase, which is not really a good one. Because if we are advocating for change, people say the pen speaks louder than the gun. So I feel that even though when people have been pushed to the extreme, at one point they can use other means to survive. But I feel that
the pen should speak.
The pen should speak better, and we should resort to more peaceful measures to advocate for our freedom and for change.
I'll come to Mr. Njomo Cyril. He has come out with some pivotal issues that are making this crisis to go longer, and some consistency, some inconsistency in the Anglophone crisis that make it to go longer. Now, I'll really wish to ask you, if Tuwo Nash talk of the Anglophones want to be involved in the management and have a say in the running of this country, and some of these happenings as he has brought out is making them to be very angry today and come out. But according to you, what are some of these things so that we start diagnosing them?
Tibonage is talking about decentralization. The Anglophone have a history of indirect rule, when their own people were given the laissez-faire to administer their subjects. And so the Anglophone simply is asking the government to decentralize the management of the community so that...
Which they have started doing.
So that local development can kickstart and the well-being of the people can equally follow. But the government faced to this revendication has some challenges. The first one that we can notice is the prolonged direct rule system that they have been using, where they impose from Yaoundé what should happen in the 360 subdivisions that are in Cameroon, and by extension to the various quarters and villages that we have. So the people, especially those of the two English-speaking regions, simply believe that this is not their culture of governance and that they need to be brought back. And it was just framework in the aspect of the House of Chief, for example, which was a house that dignified the custodian of our tradition, that gave value, because chief are actually mouthpiece of the people. They represent the people in this saying that when people have grievances in the quarter, they move to the chiefdom and report their problem there, and the chief now carry it to the house of chief. So there's actually a grassroots mobilization and discussion around the problem that can easily promote development. Then beside that, you also have the development, education, roads, and basic necessities like water and electricity. More and more, we see that Anglophones are left behind already by the crisis that become open in 2016, and instead the situation has worsened. More Anglophones are now out of school, especially those of school-going ages. More road has been deteriorated either by nature or by the actions of the two fractions. Talking about access to water, electricity, and even food now is becoming very difficult, because come to think that when there is war, people cannot farm, and so obviously during the farming season, there are insects fighting amongst themselves, and when it's harvest period, they have nothing to harvest. Electricity and water, the companies that are managing this establishment, when there's any fault in the provision of this product, they don't go to repair because they are afraid of loose bullets. So when I've made this overall, you want to believe that the situation, the economic situation, the well-being of the Anglophone from 2016 to 2020 has worsened. And so if Tibor Nagy is reminding the government that the more you delay tactics towards providing solution to this, you are radicalizing and pushing people to extreme position. Secessionists that have used weapons will not be attacked again. They will not be victimized again, because the people will start giving them legitimacy over what they are doing if you keep holding the rope, because the more you hold it, their socio-economic situation keep deteriorating, and it pushes to more revendication. I think in the nutshell, Tibor Nagy is calling on the Yaoundé administration to fasten the peace process that to them they believe that they started in 2017, that they should give genuine solution to this peace process so that the socio-economic condition of Anglophone will get better, and they will stop hearing from the self-proclaimed leaders that are on social media, and some even back home.
Okay, now if you have brought out some inconsistencies that has made this crisis to go so long, but I want to come to Dr. Busi. You know, with what they have said, it shows that it has pushed the English-speaking parts of Cameroon, or the Anglophones, they have pushed them to the wall. Then what do you think now, the Human Rights Watch, what do you think has really pushed them to call on the United Nations to really say they should start maybe freezing the accounts of the secessionists or separatists, and maybe bring this problem to an end, that the Anglophones now won't be satisfied?
Thank you, Mr. Mambo Williams. Some of the issues that are pushing Human Rights Watch is that most of the Anglophones, especially in the Northwest and Southwest, especially the common people, they are traumatized. They are psychologically traumatized. And the pain in the minds of the people, the psychic of the people, the psychopathology of the people in the Northwest and Southwest, they are emotionally nervous. They are suffering. So the suffering of the people of the Northwest and Southwest is too much. Before the crisis, life was difficult on the people of the North, the common man in the Northwest and Southwest. But when the crisis started in 2017 up to now, about 4 years now, many persons in the Northwest and Southwest are displaced. Many persons in the Northwest and Southwest have lost their homes. Many of their houses are burned. Many of them are displaced persons. Many of them are refugees in River State in Nigeria. And they are suffering, especially the young, the youth and the girl child. They are vulnerable. There are people who have been raped. They are passing through difficulties, through pains. And there are people who have lost every of their property. So Human Rights Watch is saying that both the military and the separatists, they must be moderate on the common people, because it's the common man that is feeling the pain. And Human Rights Watch is pointing finger that the UN Security Council must come in and moderate this, because these people are really in pain on daily basis and the violence is too much. And to be candid, Mr. Moderator, Human Rights Watch is very, very correct. Because when you look at the Anglophone crisis, you understand that the Anglophone crisis has been radicalized. And you see on Mondays, we thought there will be no ghost towns, and the issue of ghost towns on daily basis, the fear factor is still on the common people. So the separatist leaders who are abroad, who are fueling the crisis, they are not even in one accord. And they keep on fueling the crisis, and it's high time Human Rights Watch is calling for peace and justice. And this peace and justice can only come when the UN Security Council comes in. It's not the first time Tubonash is coming to Cameroon. Tubonash has been coming to Cameroon, and I think that diplomatic issues take time. And if the Cameroon government is very technical also, it's high time as the Cameroon government started negotiation with the separatist leaders in Yaoundé, because I think that those who were caught and taken to prison are the main people to dialogue with. Most of these people abroad are the ones fueling the crisis, the self-proclaimed social media leaders. They are the ones fueling the crisis. But I feel that the self-determination was started by a people who are in prison and was taken from Nigeria, the Naira 10. If government is very open with these people and negotiation goes on, mediation with the third party, we feel that the pain in the common man will end through honest dialogue when government is assertive, when the separatists are assertive, when government compromise, when the separatists also compromise. It's not government alone. It's an initiative of all the parties. So that's why Nijon Fundi, the chairman of the SDF, was calling on the separatist leaders to find themselves in one accord, because A is saying this, B is saying that, and they are fighting among them, and there is money laundering among them. So we have to be genuine. When the crisis started among the teachers and the lawyers, they had a common agenda. And after that, they called for federation. And government said federation was a taboo by then. But the non-state actors, some of them, now took it as an agenda to say that the Anglophones have been suffering over time. And it is high time now they engage into fighting for liberation. And we, at this juncture, Human Rights Watch is saying that they have been fighting, but who have been suffering more? It's not even the government that is suffering. You see, even the military that is dying, they are people's children. The military that is dying, they are people's children. The separatists that are dying are people's children. So it is high time we as a people, the government under the statesmanship of President Paul Biya, he should call for an open, honest dialogue, because President Paul Biya is the legitimate president of the Republic of Cameroon. President Paul Biya is the legitimate president of the Republic of Cameroon. Okay, and I'm not disputing my CRM militant. Okay. President Paul Biya, if President Paul Biya stands today that he wants to solve the Anglophone crisis genuinely, with honest heart, President Paul Biya will solve this crisis. The people in the northwest and southwest, especially the people in the suburbs, we are in Boya. We can flex around, but Mr. Moderator, life is difficult. Go to Kwakwa, go to Banso, go to Bafut, go to all those villages in the suburbs. You give one mama 1,000 francs. It's as if it's God that has come. So we are saying that, look at the people in the northwest. President Nijon Fundi, the president of SDF, was saying that, the chairman, sorry, was saying that schools are not going on. And we are writing the GCE now. Students are writing the GCE now. Let me tell you, more than 60 or 70% of students in the northwest and southwest have migrated to La Republique. And you, the separatist leaders abroad, your children are going to school abroad, and you are saying that we want to keep our own culture, the Anglophone, the Anglo-Saxon culture. And our own children are migrating and going to French Cameroon, and they are being assimilated with the French culture. Who is suffering more? And most of our children even have dropped out from school. A lot of school drop out. They are not going to school in the northwest and southwest, especially in the suburbs. You go to some of these government schools, there are grasses everywhere. Children
Dr.
cannot
Dusi,
go to
it
school.
is said that
So Human Rights Watch is saying that
development, there is destruction. In every struggle, such things must happen. So are you saying that maybe these things should just come to an end and the English speakers just stay like that? And
we
watch?
are not saying that it should just come to. We want
Okay.
peace and justice. Let me answer your question, Mr. Moderator. We want peace and justice. Human Rights Watch is also saying that some of the international workers, especially NGOs, they have been brutalized. And we have seen cases where hospitals have been burned. We cannot live that kind of life. It's not good. We have seen places where people are being kidnapped on a daily basis, either by any of the parties. So it is not what Human Rights Watch is saying, that it is not correct, because we are a people fighting for something that is correct, because the Anglophone are a people of their own who came together with La République du Cameroun. So if you are fighting for something, why should you suffer your own brother in the village? If you are fighting, why should you suffer your own parents? Why should you suffer your own brothers and sisters? So it is high time we as a people in the northwest and southwest, the separatist leaders abroad should come into one accord. The president of the Republic of Cameroon also should be open to call for an inclusive negotiation and dialogue where there is a third party, so that we can genuinely discuss on the Anglophone problem. And lastly, if you look, the Anglophones are also crying that if we have a kind of president is a kind of rotatory presidency, it could be better, so that Anglophones can also have the opportunity to be a president in this country, because Anglophones are really marginalized, to be candid for that. They are marginalized.
Come to you, Mr. Jomo Cyril. Just as he said that President Paul Biya can just make a statement and this problem come to an end. Now we are looking at some of the pivotal issues that has made this consistent inconsistency in the Anglophone crisis. Some people say President Biya has been from the beginning. He attended some of these meetings, and so he knows all these pivotal issues. Now, can we know some of these things that have to be solved to stop all these problems?
First, Mr. Nwambo Williams, one has to be naive to think that Mr. Biya can bring a lasting solution to the Anglophone crisis.
Because somebody once said he may just stand and say, okay, federalism comes back, and maybe, just as he said, rotation of positions, some position like presidency, president of the Senate, National Assembly, and so on.
So we are talking about a peripheral neighborhood that needs to have permission from the capital city, which is France, and other colonial masters.
The capital city of
Cameroon. Cameroon is a peripheral village.
Okay, we know Yaoundé is the capital city. Okay, go on.
At the realm of
In
geopolitics.
tongues. Okay.
Yes. So Mr. Biya alone cannot singly decide whether the form of the state of Cameroon should change from a federal state to, from a unitary state to a federal state.
He decided so in the 80s.
You think that he did that alone? But I'm telling you, okay, do you want us to dip into history?
That's what I'm saying,
When
that those pivotal
gave him
issues.
power, excuse me.
Yes.
When Ayijo gave him power,
Yeah.
for example, some few years after, they orchestrated a coup d'etat, and after that, they tightened things, they changed everything, and all that was not happening without the hand of French behind it. Okay, so coming back to what we are talking about, no, I don't believe that Mr. Biya alone can do the magic solution.
Okay.
But what I believe, sincerely, that can happen is a national consciousness, that people should understand first that violence is never legitimate. Yes, those who always take to violence, I mean, I'm talking for both faction,
Yeah.
both the secessionists and the regular armies should know that they are registering themselves in the book of history that is never mentioned to educate the future generation, because you don't expect that they should go to classroom and they are teaching people about those who create terror, so they are forgotten. I don't know whether you are getting. So people, when people are acting, they should ask themselves, in which part of the history do I want to record my activities? And that is why the outgoing ambassador to the U.S., Bellerin, advised Mr. Biya that to be part of those that they are going to teach in the future Cameroon, please voluntarily leave the office to President Kamto. So I'm surprised to sit on this platform.
We are still to
Somebody
know that he
saying
made
that-
such a statement.
That one is not
No,
factual.
okay,
We are-
what
we are
I say,
still
what
to
I
know-
mean
That's
that
not
he should not.
factual.
Okay,
That's not
sorry,
factual.
sorry,
Okay.
sorry. Let me bring facts the way they are.
Okay.
Yes, that he shouldn't present himself for the 2018 Etudi race, and so, but he went ahead and represented himself. So it is that level of stiffness, greediness that characterized the Biya regime that keep
Greediness for
that keep
going to the
radicalizing
presidential
the
election.
Anglophone, maintaining power, for example, that keep radicalizing the
But the law
Anglophone.
permits that.
And because he is there, unfortunately his tribe people, the Beti, simply thinks that it's normal to be superior to the other tribal ethnic
Races
groups
or-
in
yeah.
Cameroon, and so either consciously or unconsciously, it creates a social malaise, because it's not truly that it's an individual that is bad, but what he has grown over the years as reputation, and that the people have taken advantage of. I'm just from an event, for example, where people were comfortably talking their French and had French. They were not caring whether the audience was listening to them or not. I was like, how can you be talking and you don't even care whether the audience before you
Understands
follow or
you.
not? But I want to believe that it is a culture, because when I saw an orator with gray hair, and so then when you look at the audience, people are laughing, he thinks that they are laughing together. I got confused whether he's so I started thinking that is a culture. So we are also talking about a cultural perspective, that French system is totally different, or to an extent opposed to the Anglo-Saxon system, and it would take the Francophone themselves to acknowledge that first. And Mr. Biya is not willing to do so. And that's why I think that it goes beyond his willingness. And we are talking about an aged person. At that age, Mr. Mwambo, you don't think that somebody is as you and me, that we are still fighting for what to eat. He has covered, in short, the future is more blurred than the past. More of his legacy lies in the past. Okay? And so everything he does now is not more by calculation. He does that by conviction. He is convinced that the Anglophone are a subclass in this country, and there is nothing you can do to change that in his head. And that's why I don't really think that he was elected by the majority of the Cameroonians. So we could say that he's legally elected but not legitimate. And when the doctor on the platform bring those kind of terms, it create a kind of feeling in my body that truly
Maybe he means there
Can
was
10 Cameroonians sit down?
elections, Cameroonian went on the poll, and maybe the results were proclaimed.
personally
And
on this table, if truly were to be honest, the assembly of us on this platform voted, none of us will come out.
Okay.
We're talking of an
Continue.
election that excluded 2 regions of Cameroon.
Okay.
So to land on this issue, no, personally, I think that France is not yet ready to let go the domination of Francophones over Anglophone in Cameroon, and even in any other country where they are. And secondly, I believe that for the Anglophone, especially to the secessionists, they should know that there is no monopoly of violence. Okay, maybe where they will end is when others will start. Then one bad thing that lies ahead is that those families that they have unjustly claim lives. Ask for ransoms. Are planning them also, and it's true that we cannot build without forgiving, but people will ask themselves that truly you were fighting for us, then you were you kill my father, you kill my brother. So those kind of discussion, I think they should reflect over it and still ask themselves, Mr. Mwambo, and that's the last statement. Yes. I promise not to take more than 1 second. That in which part of the history are they writing their own?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me come to Mr. Item. Mr. Item, if you look at it, the freezing of the separatist accounts that the UN is being pressured now by the Human Rights Watch, do you think it will not violate the rights of the people, given that their accounts are abroad? And if we look at the West, they claim to be democratic. Do you see such a thing happening?
We have international cooperations between countries and understanding. You know, the world is a global village, as it is locally called. There are people who feel that they can just. There are people who feel that they can just make a statement and everything happen. Though the Human Rights Watch is correct, the main issue in this country and in the world at large is that the interest of humanity is paramount. Once the interest of humanity is not protected, automatically the world is leading towards doom. Therefore, if they are talking of freezing the accounts of the separatists, why not, to me, try to advocate for solutions rather than we are trying to kill that is a ghost than killing the human being that would definitely come out to be the ghost. What will the freezing of the account do? Even if they freeze the account, they might still use other methods before the coming of banks. How are people saving money? So what I'm trying to say is that the fundamental root cause of the crisis are what are left untouched. Even though the freezing of the account might be just a step to solve the crisis, but I don't think it will be the ultimate, like many people put it, the ultimate solution to stop the violence in the Northwest and the Southwest. It will marvel you to know that there might be people locally as well who are funding the crisis in their little ways. The issue with the crisis is that there is an ideology in the mind of a group of people.
Could it be that the Human Rights Watch maybe at one time they lacked news to send out? Because if you look at their reports, more than 60% have been in favor of the separatists, and they have been talking much in good about separatists and maybe blaming the government not to help to bring this problem to an end. But this time you see them coming very hard, freezing the accounts of, let me call it a country, let me call it that way, as they term themselves.
If you read the Human Rights Watch report, yes, the Human Rights Watch report was not really all that biased on the separatists. It was simply outlining areas where the separatists went wrong. It did not completely say that the separatists never had a cause. Yeah. So one thing people fail to know is that it did not say that the separatists were wrong to advocate for change or whatsoever, but the strategy and the kind of pains that they are putting on the people, that is where their problem lies. That is why we saw in the first phase of the crisis, the Human Rights Watch has really been somehow, the report has been somehow favorable. But when you go in between the lines, they were also condemning the separatists. It's just that they were too hard on the government because, let me tell you, the President of the Republic has the constitutional right to protect the minority. And when this crisis started, to me, as an individual and to many Cameroonians, we felt that there was no reason why this problem should reach up to 2020. Why? It was just a minor issue that the President of the Republic, he knew well that there is a group of Cameroonians. Let's start with the STNC and many Anglophone groups that have been advocating for an independent nation. He knew that right in the mind of Anglophone, there have been some noise in the pocket, in the corners, that Anglophone are very disgruntled. With this, you will just need just a small noise, just a small action to blow the fire, for the fire to catch. So I don't know why the President of the Republic started redundantly, and he instead felt that the security means could do the best way to stop the crisis rather than dialoguing with the people. When, for example, some of the solutions that have been put in place to solve the crisis are instead one of the problems we are instead having. They have created a special bench in Enam. When you look at the list, you look at the names, you look at Idrisu, Ayatu, all the names are more of Francophone names. And the terminology, the Anglophone man, like when I used to put it, the good thing that the President of the Republic has done to the nation at large is giving education for free. That is a majority.
Some people say it's not free.
No, a majority of the Anglophones are so educated to a fault, even though they are jobless, that any inch that any decision that the state takes, they interpret it from a critical perspective. For example, when they say there's a special bench in NAM for Anglophones, people welcome the idea, and many people, even most of us, went to the media and returned the head of state. We say he's moving, putting steps. He brought forth the bilingualism and multiculturalism. But till date, documents come out in French. At times it takes long before you see a document in English. And now, let me learn, Mr. Moderator, before you call me up. What I'm trying to say is that the terminology that those people who partake in the exam are people Anglophones. The word Anglophone means that if you can speak English, either you are from Garwa, either you are from Yaoundé. Now, if you look at it from that angle, how does it help an Anglophone? That is people who are from the Northwest and Southwest origin, that they have thousands of their brothers dead, that they have a number of their people displaced, that they are suffering, they are crying for equality. How does it help them when a majority, one thing that has shown Francophone studies in the University of Iran, most universities in the Southwest, is that there is the insecurity. Otherwise, we realize that our universities were almost flooded with Francophones, because the more you know French, the more you are in a better position. And that is why even in courts, in our civil service offices, you will go there and you will see Francophones, because they can immediately, you can speak 2 words in English, you are sent to an office in Anglophone region. So what we are saying is that we need ultimate solution. No one wants this country to separate, except those people who are at the extreme position. But what will completely separate this nation is when the president continue and the stakeholders concerned continue being reluctant to solve the crisis. This crisis might, in the nearest 4 years or 2 years to come,